looking at the teacher. Yep. What about the way you're sitting, Matthew? You're sitting with your hands to yourself and looking at me, and that's how I know that you guys will be listening, okay? So we're going to be reading a fictional text today called Any Questions. And this book talks about what authors think about while they're writing. You know, their writing process, how they come up with ideas. So we're actually going to be making inferences today about what we read. Who can tell me what it means to make an inference? Do we know? Cameron?
Idea?
An idea? It is kind of like an idea. Cole?
A prediction?
Yes, it is kind of like a prediction. Now, when we make a prediction, we're just sort of guessing what's going to happen next. But when we make an inference, we're actually using the clues that we read in the book and stuff and connections that we make while we're reading to guess what we think is going to happen next. So it's more of making an informed guess. Does that make sense? So we're going to use the clues that we read to kind of figure out what we think is going to happen next. Letty, did you have a question? You can't see? What can't you see? The book? I'll hold it up when I'm reading, okay? Don't worry. But before we get started, there are some words that come up frequently in this book that I just wanted to go over with you guys to make sure that we knew what they meant. So the first one is magnificent. Someone know what magnificent means? Haley?
That something is awesome.
Awesome, yep. Now I have magnificent means something very beautiful and amazing. Something really pretty and amazing and wonderful. And the next word is ferocious. Who can tell me what ferocious means? Matthew? Angry, yep. Mean, yep. I have that ferocious means extremely scary or wild and even dangerous. So maybe like a wild beast would be ferocious. You know, something that's really scary. Yeah.
Ridiculous means crazy.
Oh look, you gotta have the game. So ridiculous, right? It means crazy. Anybody else have an idea of what? Funny. Dylan, did you have something? No. Matthew? Weird, yeah. So I have ridiculous means something silly or unusual or not very likely to happen. So do we all have a good grasp of what these vocab words mean? Give me a thumbs up, thumbs sideways, or a thumbs down if you think you know what these mean. Thumbs up. You need me to go over it again? No? No? We're good. I see a lot of thumbs up. All right. Good. So we're going to take a book walk before we start and look at the pictures. We're going to see if we can make some inferences by the pictures that we see. So we see a girl here sitting at a desk. What do we think she's doing? You know, let's raise our hands. What do we think that she's thinking about? Cole? Writing something to an author. That's a good idea. Haley? Crafting something. That's a really good guess because we see that she has art supplies and stuff over here. I have some more kids right here asking questions. Talking. And here's a snowstorm going on. What do we think is going to happen? Here, let's keep it in our minds. This even looks like it would be magnificent, don't you think? Yeah, it's pretty. We have this. The scenery seems to keep changing. Right here, we have 4 different panels. What do we think's going on here? There's 4 different settings here. Autumn? Oh, you don't know? Well, here we see that there's an ocean over here and a guy's on a boat. There's a jungle with some animals. Yep, there's this little dark spot where someone might be hiding. And there's rain. Looks like there's a bunch of stories. Someone Very nice handwriting. Here we have a lot of stuff going on. The kids seem to be looking around for something, and there's a cat flying in a paper airplane up at the top talking.
Where?
Right here. That is ridiculous. We have a big elephant. With a bunch of little animals on it.
Or their earth could be small.
Their earth could be small. That's a good inference, Cameron, because everything seems to be big or really, really small. We have more. Yeah, I know. A guy with bat wings. That is ridiculous. And then we have this page right here with them. Thank you, Taylor. That is ridiculous. They're making a mess, aren't they? What do we think that they're making?
Art.
Art?
Pictures.
Raise our hands.
Stuff
Thank you, Autumn.
what they saw.
Stuff what they saw. Yeah, that's a really good guess because we saw a bunch of really cool stuff. And they seem to be painting something similar. And there's that girl again. Either writing or drawing. We have another story going on. And here, this looks like a giant, right? Hiding behind this big rock. Does he look ferocious to you guys?
That's scary.
No. No, why doesn't he look scary? What clues can we use to know that he's not very scary looking? Matthew? He is. He's hiding behind a rock. If he was ferocious, he wouldn't be hiding, would he? No. We have more stories. And then we have this big purple
That's
beast.
ferocious.
That is ferocious. That you got my question before I could even ask it. This one definitely looks more ferocious than the other one, right? Yeah. It does kind of look like a big gray. So then we have some more stories. And it looks like they're kind of riding on top of it. It does kind of look like a purple wolf with a lightning tail. Here, it's this one. So right now we see the giant and this purple beast about to meet
We see a
for
big
the
rock.
first time. He came out from behind the rock. What do we think's going to happen when they meet? Oh, let's raise our hand. Colt? Okay, the giant could play with them. Marissa? The purple thing could eat the giant. But we're actually going to stop here. Oh, Charles, did you have an inference? What do you think's going to happen?
Maybe it's giant, right?
He could be the giant's friend. We don't know. So we're actually going to stop here so that I don't ruin the end of the story for you. And now we're going to read it. Any questions? Sometimes I daydream about when I was young. I was a very curious child. I always had a million questions about everything. Do trees talk? Where does rain come from? Why do cats have whiskers? Can I be a dog when I grow up? The list was endless. When I meet children in schools and libraries, I see that nothing has changed. Children are as curious as ever. They ask me questions all the time. Lots and lots of questions. And why not? If you don't ask questions, how on earth will you get any answers? Let's see. I don't have a hamster or a rabbit, but I do have a goldfish. My favorite color is purple, and sadly, my cat can't fly. Where does a story start? Now that's a good question. A story always starts on a blank white page, like this. If you stare long enough at a blank piece of paper, anything can happen. For example, a blank white page could become a magnificent snowstorm. But what if my story started on an old yellowish paper? Would it be different? Now I think that this would be different because if it started out on old yellowish paper, that would mean the story would take place somewhere a lot older, right? Like here we have dinosaurs and stuff, so that's my inference. I think that if we change the type of paper, our ideas might change. What if my paper was sea blue? Or maybe a stormy purplish gray, or jungly green, or even midnight black? So see, as the paper changes, the setting changes too. Not always, though. Sometimes a story starts with words or ideas floating out of nowhere. Some words are captured and written down, while others are thrown out or carefully put away in a drawer for future use, until slowly a story emerges. Then suddenly, little scribbles and doodles appear here and there, between and around words. Spots of color splash silently on the page and become shapes, characters, and ideas. See, they're all thinking about different ideas of what they're going to write their story about. Believe it or not, there are times when I don't have any ideas at all. My mind is blank. Or worse, I might get a ridiculous idea that doesn't fit into the story, like this one. So I have to use my imagination, try out new ideas. Let's see, what about a big bad wolf and 3 little pigs? A ridiculous singing rabbit, or a ferocious snail? Does a snail look ferocious? No, that's why he has a little caption saying, saying, "Me? You must be kidding." So they're joking. Bad boy. A lost princess or a powerful wizard? So what do we think the story's going to turn into? A book. The story does turn into a book. But with all these different ideas, where do we think the author is going to take it from here? Marissa? To a crazy story, yeah. Cameron? Oh, okay. Here, let's find out. But sometimes that doesn't work either. So I go back to my drawing table. I start to sketch stars and spirals, snails, rabbits, or a few tiny caterpillars. I draw and paint, and I cut, and I paste. I let my mind wander. I shake my ideas around and turn them upside down and look at them flying around the window like a flock of birds. Suddenly, I know who lives in the forest. A giant, a shy young giant with birds nesting in his hair. His story starts here. So now we're finally going to figure out what she decided to write about. The shy young giant. Once upon a time, 1,000,000 years ago, or was it only yesterday, in a dark green mossy forest where the sun rarely shone and where the trees were so old that they could hardly walk, let alone dance, there lived a young giant. He was the guardian of the forest. It was his job to protect it. His father had done this, as well as his grandmother before him. The young giant watered the forest when the trees were thirsty and stomped out any fires caused by lightning or fireflies. He planted mushrooms and flowers between the toes of the trees, which made them laugh. Trees are very ticklish, as you know. The giant read stories to the trees to help them grow. Some trees liked poems, while others loved adventure stories. Of course, the skinny birch trees preferred love stories. So he was a very busy young giant. He was also a very shy young giant. He was so shy that he couldn't chase away the birds that nested in his hair. He was so shy that he would hide if he heard someone coming near. Not an easy thing to do if you're a giant. On one cold autumn day, when the trees had just started losing their leaves, revealing their well-kept secrets, hidden birds, nests, lost kites, and the dreams of those who had slept in their cool, leafy summer shadows, the giant heard something, thundering footsteps on the ground, leaves rustling, snatches of song, branches snapping, a growling sound. Someone or something was coming his way. The shy young giant hid behind the huge rock. He stopped breathing. He did not move an inch or even blink an eyelash. He desperately hoped that whoever or whatever was coming towards him wouldn't see him. The noises grew louder and louder. All of a sudden, it's your turn. What do you think happens next? So what do we think happens next? Who's coming out of the forest to meet the giant? Autumn? The purple wolf. Yes, what do we think's gonna happen? Yeah, it could. And look, someone's drawing purple wolf. Yep, with the lightning trap. And look, here's some guesses that some kids have written. What they think's gonna happen. Alexis? That's true. The wolf might not be mean at all. Your ideas are brilliant, and your beast is magnificent. I mean, your beast is absolutely horrible. Do you want to see what happens when the giant meets the beast? The beast caused such an uproar and confusion that the giant couldn't stay hidden anymore. He couldn't be shy anymore. He had to do something. First, he whispered, "Stop." Then he shouted, "Stop!" Then he roared, "Stop!" The horrible purple beast stopped dead in his tracks. He stared up at the giant. The giant blushed. He had never roared before.
How come giants roar?
They're pretty big, so I guess if they yell, it comes out like a roar. "Who are you?" asked the giant. "I'm a beast," whispered the beast. "A horrible, dreadful beast." "Do you have a name?" asked the giant. The beast's cheeks turned crimson. "Fluffy," mumbled the beast. "Well, Fluffy, why are you gobbling up my forest? Are you hungry?" "No," muttered the beast. "I was lonely and angry and sad." "It's hard to make friends when you're a ferocious beast," said the giant. "Would you like me to read you a story?" The beast's eyes widened. His heart was beating very fast. "Yes," he whispered. No one had ever read a story to him in his whole beastly life.
Alexis was right.
Alexis was right. The shy young giant pulled a book out of his pocket and started reading in his soft, rumbly voice. The trees crowded silently around the beast and the giant. The children came out from behind the trees, as did the birds, the rabbits, the snails, and other forest creatures. "Once upon a time," read the giant, "1,000,000 years ago, or was it only yesterday, in a dark green mossy forest where the sun rarely shone and where the trees..." Do we recognize that story?
Yes.
That was his story, right? The story echoed throughout the forest. Words of all shapes and sizes, figments of the imagination, and brilliant ideas threaded their way through the tree branches and floated into the sky. Owls hooted softly, the trees rustled, the beasts sighed. They all listened with their ears and their hearts wide open. The moon rose as the giant finally whispered, "The end." And then here we have all of them hanging out in the forest together with the bear and the beast. And they're all fun. So, what do we think that the moral of this story was? What is the author trying to tell us in this story? What do you think? What are they trying to explain? Matthew?
That
A girl's making a story. And it sort of explains to us her process, right? What do you think, Marissa? That's true. That could be a lesson too. Don't judge a book by its cover, right? You may think that someone looks mean, but they may not really be mean once you get to know them. Cole?
one that they want you to be a writer.
That's good. be influencing you to become a writer and explaining the process to us. So we made some inferences today, and I heard someone say, Alexis's inference was right. So, that's cool, right? Sometimes our inferences are right when we guess, but when we make them, it's not always about being right, because we're just using the clues and stuff that we find within the story to make the best the guess that we can. So a lot of the times it's not going to be right. So how do we make an inference again? What do we use? You remember? Malachi, you raising your hand? How do you make an inference? How is it different than making a prediction? You forgot? That's okay. Who else had their hand up? Marissa? You can use describing words. Dylan, did you have an idea? I don't know. So it's kind of like what Marissa said. You're going to use your describing words, and you're going to use the stuff that you see in the text and the pictures and stuff you use. You kind of read in between the lines when you're making inferences. You're trying to make guesses with what you've already learned. So we've gone over these vocab words, right? Do you guys think you have a pretty good grasp on what they mean? So I want you to go back to your desk, and on the sheet of paper that you have set out there, I want you to draw, they don't have to be elaborate, 3 little pictures that symbolize what these words mean to you. They could be things that we read in the story, examples, or you can come up with ones on your own.
Slide by, I'm sorry.
So 3 pictures that symbolize magnificent, ferocious, and ridiculous to you. You don't have to color them, just a little sketch of something. And make sure your name's at the top.
What does magnificent mean again?
Magnificent. So, something that's wonderful or beautiful. We talked about how it means very beautiful and amazing.
So we can draw like flowers.
Anything that seems magnificent to you. So if you think flowers are beautiful and amazing, definitely put that. I really like how Alexis and Delana both have the words written said. They can just draw something really quick underneath. Oh, very nice. Very pretty. Very cool. That's an awesome extra. Make sure your name's up on the paper. What's that? Oh, is that the back boy? Very cool. Yeah, very cool. Right. if you get done before everyone else, just read silently at your desk and give your classmates time to finish up. Ferocious. So remember we talked about the beast ferocious. It's something scary and mean or dangerous. Well, I guess you could, as long as you label it so that I know what you're talking about. If that's what ferocious means to you. Thank you. Oh, very nice. Very cool drawing. I hope he isn't too mean to you, though. That is pretty ridiculous, huh? Good camera. It's a snake dog. Oh, wow. That's kind of silly. Done? Thank you. Make sure your name's on it. Great job. What is this? That's a snake bird. Oh wow, very creative. Oh my goodness. That's pretty ridiculous, huh? Or ferocious. Which one? 'Cause that's pretty scary too.
Okay, here.
There you go. Make sure you guys are finishing up. It doesn't have to be too elaborate. Just something simple. Oh wow. These are great, Dylan.
I'm done.
Oh, wow. Good job. Which ones? Is this ridiculous? Okay, so this one's ridiculous.
Also, this puppy doesn't have a skirt.
Yeah, that one could be ferocious too. Look how scary he is with all his teeth.
Yes.
Is that us?
There's the cage here.
So let's draw one more picture of something that we think is magnificent. Okay, we got two of those here. Do you see them? That'd be magnificent. Yeah, because magnificent means very beautiful. Yep, that works. Very nice. Those of you that are still working, let's make sure we start finishing it up. Cute. A cat, I couldn't tell. That is very cute. That would be something I would use. Show your names or That's silly. Yeah, you're right. So let's just do one more. Maybe something that's magnificent. Something okay. Here, you don't have to color it, Emily. I love that you are going above and beyond. That is great. We gotta make sure we have time to move on. I love this though. Very cool. What's your name? I don't think so. Yeah. Thank you. Oh my goodness. What on earth? Oh wow. Are you done? We've got a lot of really great stuff on here. Thank you. Make sure you're reading at your desk if you're done.